Hello everyone, in this episode of Day Job presented by Sparesbox, we continue work on my first car, the MX-6 Turbo. Now, the main reason the MX-6 Turbo had sat around for so long with the previous owner and then myself is due to one big job that needed to happen, and that was remove the turbo and get the broken studs removed. So that's finally going to happen right now.
This is our problem.
So the old oil filter was exactly as expected, of probably not being changed in over 5 years. It was a bit of a pain in the ass to get off, but now it's off. We get a new Ryco filter to go on from Sparesbox. We're actually going to put some Newlon 1540 everyday oil in to do a flush. Because the car sat around for 5 years, a lot of gunk and stuff builds up. One oil flush just isn't going to be enough. So we're going to put some everyday oil in so we can do another flush before we then put some Newlon synthetic oil into the car as well. A couple of tips for young players. Put some oil onto the seal to get a good seal. You can fill up the oil filter with a little bit of oil before you put it in, so that way it hasn't got as much to cycle through the engine to get oil pressure. And especially on cars that have been sitting around for a while, just make sure that the seal of the old filter came off with it, because if the old seal is still sitting on there and you put the new one on, it will empty the engine oil completely out of the car pretty quickly. Now, the turbocharger, like most parts on our MX-6, is one of those things where you can spend 5% of the time on it to make it 90% as good as you want, or you've got to spend 100% of time to make it 100% as good as you want. We could strip all this down and get it powder coated and sandblasted and cleaned and make it all look brand new, but why? It's a tiny little, VJ11 turbocharger that works just fine. So we just give it a quick clean up, so at least it looks okay. We can't see any damage or anything wrong with it, so we can get it back on the car and use it.
So on older vehicles, sometimes you can't source all the parts you need. So fortunately at my shop, I have a 3D printer. So I designed up some very simple gear linkage bushes. They took about 40 minutes to print. So we're just gonna put them in now. So they go in here and they basically take up the slack inside the gear stick. So this is a water feed fitting that came out of the engine block. As you can see, it's quite rusted and stuffed. So we're just going to put a speed flow replacement in. This is a pretty unique exhaust manifold gasket. From factory, it's actually got the heat shield integrated into it. So what I had to do was remove the spot welds and remove the factory metal gaskets so we could use these Permaseal replacement ones. So we'll just chuck them in now.
So another piece of preventative maintenance we're going to do more because they physically look bad rather than don't work is the clutch slave cylinder and master cylinder. The master cylinder is actually totally covered in surface rust. The fluid is filthy and disgusting, so we bought a brand new one. The slave cylinder down here has a broken boot and it's leaking, so we thought, you know what? They're not that expensive to go brand new, so let's do it. And you know what? I think Grub can put these on. There you go, bro. Just kidding.
Might go grab that pile of spares box stuff and we'll wrap through it and see what we'll start with. So pretty much the only thing you can make a mistake with this is you put the leads on the wrong spot, which I probably will do, but I won't do it on purpose though. So for those at home that don't know what this is what they used to have before they had coil on plug. This basically distributes the spark. It spins around, and then the coil fires the spark down the thing, which travels along the lead into the plug. Pretty straightforward. And so you can see this cap here. See all this? That's all corrosion for one. See how it's got all that corrosion on there? See how it scrapes off? If you're just doing a service, you can just scrape that stuff off and it will make your car run heaps better. But we're just going to replace it all together. The other thing with these, say if your car's misfiring, you want to look in here and see if there's any cracks in this cap. Like a crack across here, through there somewhere. So the other part, which is the rotor button, same again. You can see on the end there, see how like burnt and corroded it is in comparison to the new one. Okay, so when the coil fires, the electricity gets shot along this, and then wherever it's pointing, jumps across to the post and then down the lead. Pretty much the last thing I got to do is just put some oil in it and we can start it up. So grab some off the shelf.